Hey everybody, in this video we'll talk about finding the first terms of a sequence with multiple occurrences of n. Now I've talked about finding the first terms of an arithmetic and a geometric sequence in previous videos, where we talk about this little subscript and we say a sub n here, okay? And then when we're finding the first four terms, we just plug in our n values one at a time. Now the first n value starts at 1, so the first term, a sub 1, is going to be equal to 3 times, what is our n value now? It's 1 plus 5 over 2 times 1. Now here's my n value there because that matches up with these n's here. So wherever there's an n, I'm going to plug in whichever n value I'm using. For the first term it's 1, for the second term it's 2, for the third term it's 3, etc. Now this equals 3 plus 5 over 2, which is 8 over 2, which is 4. Okay, so now the second term, a sub 2, my n is now 2, I have 3 times 2 plus 5 over 2 times n, which is still 2 here. So I get a 6 plus 5 over 4, which is 11 fourths. So that's my second term. My third term is going to be 3 times 3 plus 5 over 2 times 3. So it be 9 plus 5 over 6, which is equal to 14/6, which reduces to 7/3. Alright, now the fourth term, plug in 4 for every time I see n, so 3 times 4 plus 5 over 2 times n, which is 4. That equals 12 plus 5 over 8, which is equal to 17/8. So what are the first four terms of the sequence? They are 4, 11 fourths, 7/3, and 17/8. So there's one example. We're going to do one more example. So now let's take a look at this example. We have a -1 to the n. Now we can think of that and think, okay, -1 to the 1 power is going to be -1. But then when I do -1 squared, or to the 2 power, that's going to give me a +1. So we might think that the signs are probably going to change for these, but let's go ahead and see what happens. So a sub 1, I'm plugging in 1 for n, get -1 to the n, or 1, over 1 times 1 plus 1. So where are n values here? I'll underline them in the original equation, or the sequence here. Let's see, where else do we have one? Right there and right there. So there's my n values. Then I end up with -1 over 1 times 2, or -1/2. So that's the first term. My second term is going to be -1 squared over 2 times 2 plus 1. Now that becomes a +1 over 2 times 3, which is 1/6. Okay, so now I want you guys to go ahead and pause the video and try and find a sub 3 and a sub 4, or our third and fourth terms of this sequence. I'm going to go ahead and continue. Plug in 3 here. So a sub 3 will look like this, but when we simplify, we're going to get a -1 on the top, and then we get 3 times 4 on the bottom, which is 12. There's our third term. And our fourth term is -1 to the n, or 4, over 4 times 4 plus 1, which is 4 times 5 on the bottom. So that's 20, and then negative 1 to the 4th power is a positive 1. So we can see our sign switched. Our first term is negative 1/2. Our second term is a positive 1/6. Our third term is a negative 1/12. And our fourth term is 1/20. So there's all my first 4 terms of that one. And that is finding the first terms of a sequence with multiple occurrences of n.